Alright, so today we're going to be doing a winch hook delete on our winch. Now I've been successfully using no hook on a winch for the last 12 months, actually since I fitted this winch. Now I've had absolutely great success on the tracks with it. Now what we're going to be doing is covering off why we're going to be doing the delete, how we're going to be doing the delete, and then obviously you're going to put it into practice and show you how to use it. So you're probably sitting there asking yourself why you're removing the winch hook from the recovery system. Now there's a couple of good points. Just a little bit of background on myself. I used to be a driver testing officer in the Australian Defence Force, in which teach fall driving and recoveries. Now one of the key principles we used to teach our guys was that when you're doing a recovery is to use as little gear as possible to get the job done as safely as possible. Now, by removing the equipment out of the equation, we're reducing the points of failure. So we only need to introduce the pieces of equipment we actually need to get the job done. So these days we're all using synthetic winch lines like this winch here. Back in the day I used to use steel winch cables. And obviously had steel hooks, and all the other equipment was really heavy duty. Well, these days for recreational fall driving, everything's pretty light. We're using synthetic winch ropes, we're using soft shackles, all those types of pieces of equipment. If we can delete the winch hook from that recovery, well then we're reducing the risk of anyone being injured and the reducing of another point of failure. All right, so how are we going to remove the winch hook from the recovery system? Well, it's actually really simple. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert and tell you how to tie this knot. I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you can actually go and check that out yourself. It's done by a company called Yankum Ropes who make recovery equipment, and they actually show you a step-by-step process on how to do it. I did this first time, or first go, and if I can do it, definitely you guys can too. Now, once we've actually tied the knot, it basically looks like this. It's actually the same knot that probably is already on your recovery rope where you've just actually cut off to remove the hook. The next issue we've got is actually where are we going to store the rope when we actually, wind it back in. I've got a solution for that. I'm going to show you now. All right, so this is the solution I've come up with for storing the rope when not in use, and I reckon it works pretty darn good. Now the actual knob itself is actually called a winch hook holder, and it's from a company called Carbon Off-Road here in Australia. Relatively cheap, 15 or 20 bucks. It's going to set you back, and it's actually designed to replace one of your bolts that hold your fair lead on. Now, in my situation, I've got this fair lead and it's got dual bolt holes. I was able to utilise the top hole and then position the knob. Now, to utilise it, it's pretty simple. Just put the rope over the knob, wind the winch in. That secures the rope out of the way. It's all nicely tucked. I can still use the number plate flip. And then to go ahead and use it, we just back it off, and it's easy. A lot of people you see when they're using winch hooks, they've got them underneath the vehicle, and it's always in that situation of where the hook's on there, you need to use it, and they're already stuck in mud and you've got to go digging for it. Anyway, all right, so I've just mocked up a recovery, and this is probably 90 to 95% of winch recoveries are going to be single line pulls typically. So basically all I've got is I've got my winch line, I've got a soft shackle, and I've got a tree trunk protector around a tree. Now to hook it up, we just go through, use the soft shackle, go through the eyelet of the winch line, through the two eyelets of the tree trunk protector, open up the eye on the soft shackle, feed that big knot through, get that sort of into position where we're happy with it, and we wind our winch line in. And there we have it, the most simple and safe winch recovery you can possibly do. There's not a single piece of metal, besides the car, that's actually in the recovery system. So if anything was to break, like the winch line, the soft shackle, or the tree trunk protector, it's not going to cause any damage to anyone or anything. All right, so this is another scenario you're typically going to see with winching practices is where you've got a double line pull like what we've got set up here. Now we've got the winch line that comes up to a winch ring, and that's connected via a soft shackle and then obviously the tree trunk protector. Winch line then comes back and gets connected to the vehicle via a soft shackle. Now, unfortunately, you're going to get situations where you're going to need to use a double line pull and you've got no other option but to use something metallic. Now, luckily for this is not a big heavy snatch block that we used to use. That used to weigh like about 5 kilos. This is an aluminium winch ring that weighs about half a kilo to a kilo. So, we're keeping it on the lighter things. We're reducing that risk. The other situation you might come across is when you're actually connecting up to the vehicle, you may not be able to use a soft shackle. You may have to go to a bow shackle, the old bow shackles. Now these are proven. I've never seen one break. I've seen them bend, but I've never seen one break. However, my personal opinion is you can try to use a soft shackle where you can. That's where your money's at. Now look, let's jump to the back of the vehicle and let's show you a recovery point on the back of the vehicle that I've used multiple times not just for winching, but also for snatching. So another scenario you might find yourself in is where you've actually got a winch to the rear of another vehicle, or you might need to recover the lead vehicle and pull them backwards. Now in this situation, you want to find something nice and solid, like a tow point on a vehicle. I'm actually using a hitch recovery point here. It's by a company called 4122 in the States, and it's actually called a hitch slider. So it doubles as a recovery point, but also as a slider. So when you're actually four-wheel driving, and you hit something on the rear end of the vehicle, it's going to slide straight off. Now in this situation, we're using a soft shackle and our winch line, and it's connected directly to the soft shackle here. It's going to give a nice solid recovery point. And again, we're removing those metallic objects from the recovery system. All right, there you have it, folks. There's the winch hook delete. In my opinion, I reckon it's a worthwhile modification that anyone with a synthetic winch line should be doing. You know, improving the safety of winching, because ultimately it is a dangerous exercise, recovering any sort of vehicle. As I said, you're not just doing it on a flat track, you're doing it on, you know, steep sections of hill, or in, you know, where vehicles are overturned or anything like that. You want to make it as safe as possible when you're actually doing the recovery. So yeah, as I said, definitely worthwhile modification. What I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description below where you can learn how to tie your own Brummel knot, and I'll leave a link in the description where you can get your carbon off-road winch hook holder, and also the 4122 hitch slider. Look, not affiliated with any company at all, just these are recommended, in my opinion, modifications that you can do to your vehicle. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.